Hey man, and give me back my backstage DVD because I want to watch that.
Where's that?
Yeah, find that, watch
Is that
it.
the one in the paper bag?
No, why would I give you anything in paper bag? That's official. Like that's a
Oh, that was the
good quality
Thor
DVD.
ripoff. The Thor ripoff.
Oh, that was hilarious. I can't remember the name of that.
I
But
don't
yeah,
watch
no.
that yet, but I know it's in a paper bag. I may have put the other one with it.
Stop changing subjects. Give me back my DVD that I want to watch. Tell Stout to holler at me, man, because I have not watched that in. I gave it to you like 4 years ago, at least.
It was a while ago. I'm not going to argue you.
And then you just put on a pile and then never watched it.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you.
I mean, you shouldn't argue with me.
Can you see your levels, or can only I see your levels?
The way my screen set up, I'm looking at my notes more than.
Oh, it's okay. Okay.
My ish.
Like, do it on your levels, because then it's like you can see when you go.
I don't even get levels on my end. Only you get levels on your end.
You don't get the bars underneath us?
Right now, none of them are. I'm not getting the heart.
Oh, they're just flat lines?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm not getting a flat line. There's no check. It just says.
Sometimes I get a flat line for just one of us, but right now they both look healthy. But yours are loud.
I'm going to be loud. This is a loud episode.
You can be loud, just don't be. Fucks up the. So it's harder to edit than loud. Loud I can just bring down, but if it's distorted.
You ruined my non sequitur, but there's nothing I can do.
Well, Oh no, you're gonna cut this.
Yeah, and this is staying in.
I don't care.
I wish you said what you should have said, and I'm going to end this early.
What?
Instead of I don't care.
All right, yeah. No, we did that. How many episodes did we do that? Just the one, right?
Where we messed up and actually said it?
Yeah.
But then we came back.
No, there was one that we or that staged. I think there was one that we're like, let's do it early. Maybe.
Oh yeah, there was a setup one, and then there was one that we ruined, and then we had to edit it out.
Yes,
we just said that.
There's another one there's another one that we said it, and then I caught it during editing, and I was like, I'll just cut this out.
Yeah.
And what is returning true is when we say,
yeah, it's become a product of our own demise, but an amazing get out of jail free card.
Yeah, because we end every show with a certain phrase or certain 2 words, or in Texas 1 word.
Yeah,
we just
smushed together. That's funny. That was like an inside joke of like, I don't want to argue about what you want to argue about. I'm over this.
It's just a conversation ender.
It's like move on. And it was like, that's pretty funny. I think it was yours too. I gotta give you credit for it. Like you're just like, I'm done, bro. That's basically what you said. I was like, this is funny. Let's move on. No, that was good. Back at it again like we never left. Coke and Dank. Dank and Coke. We are D. Lethal Weapons.
Hey, Dank.
Hey, Coke.
What is 4 wheels and flies?
What is 4 wheels and flies?
Garbage truck. It was apt. It was that either that one or a broken clock, which is a waste of time. So it's any other, but this one I thought
lots of thinker.
Yeah.
So we're finally wrapping up the brilliance that was Frank Miller in our Hall of Fame episodes.
Yes, the brilliance. I appreciate that.
Well, to our 8 fans, they understand how we do Hall of Fame. There's why we put them in, which is what they wrote and what they contributed to the comic book landscape. But then there's kind of a downside, and so far we're 2 for 2. There's the back end of what happens when you write something that's so engaging that somebody sees it and wants to turn it into something for the masses, which in this case is movies. And Miller's got like 5 or 6 comic properties that got turned into movies that we're covering. We're covering. And it's definitely a bag. Of what? I guess we'll find out at the end of this. But man,
yeah, it's something. This is our Hall of Fame episode. Backhand episode. We did it, like you said, we did it with Alan Moore for episode 52, and we did the Pride of Alan Moore, which is his books, and the Shame of Alan Moore, which was his movies. And then we're doing the same thing with Frank Miller. It's just we space these out a little bit. His pride of Frank Miller was much beefier than Alan Moore's for some reason. I don't.
It was a lot.
which is interesting. I think because he just did longer runs, whereas
Yeah.
Alan Moore is much more verbose. Frank Miller had longer runs for a lot of things. So I think Moore's longest run was like the Saga of the Swamp Thing, and that was like 28 or 35 issues or something.
Right. And then came around at different times too, right? Like
Yes.
the industry was doing different things when they both.
Yeah.
So you at home can argue on what you feel is number 1A and number 1B of our Hall of Fame. Like we don't need to do that. We definitely celebrate that. Without these guys, we wouldn't be reading comic books the same way. And
Yeah.
if you've listened to our Hall of Fame episodes, like we really like the stuff that he did, and then really laugh at the stuff that like he doesn't do well.
When his
And
Miller starts showing.
oh my gosh.
You coined that phrase and it's perfect.
And bruh, it's coming back up again for like 4 of these movies.
I was gonna say before we get into all that, this is Comic Patrol. So if you need to email us anything, comicpatrolpod@gmail.com, comic_patrol at Twitter for Twitter/X, Comic Patrol Pod at Comic Patrol Pod for Instagram. You can message us on any of those for anything, and also
hopefully Stat Boy will remind us to check our messages.
Yeah, Stat Boy's on vacation.
This is gonna drop in July. Damn, it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's gone.
Anyways, now we can get into it. I gotta get used to doing that.
Yeah, like, share, and subscribe wherever you like podcasts. And if you don't,
hit that subscribe button.
There you go.
Punch that subscribe button.
Hey man, those dings give us money. They don't, but I've heard people say that. Let's get started.
All right.
We sort of made a ranking of what is actually a comic book movie and then everything else that made it to movie screens.
Yeah.
So we're reverse engineering this. Although I think like the bottom 2 could be flipped, but it doesn't really matter. They're just really interesting in the worst ways. But let's get into the shame of Frank Miller, who he really has a hand on. I can say this about Alan Moore. He wrote the properties and comic books, but then he just let himself be a writer and walked away. When the movie production came about, he wasn't really attached to it. So that's why he was so antagonistic in the media, because he didn't like the way the treatments were happening.
Yeah.
That's a 180 for Miller. Miller's hands in. He's either a screenwriter, a producer, or a director in almost everything that we cover. And that's wild that it may have been part of his downfall of like being too close to a project that you had already spent basically like your life trying to perfect, to now take it to a completely different level that maybe was out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, there are some similarities, like comparisons between the two writers, Alan Moore and Frank Miller. And like you said, Alan Moore didn't want his properties adapted. Frank, but couldn't help it because they're all tied up with like DC and stuff.
Yeah.
And Frank Miller didn't necessarily want his properties adapted either, but was convinced to. Right? Like his Marvel stuff, like the Elektra stuff, that happened anyways. But when Rodriguez showed him that one little short of Sin City, what was that? What was it called? Oh, The Customer's Always Right. Test footage. That was like, okay,
you have something here.
You got me, yeah. And he was right.
When we get there, that's the difference of a director having a vision for the writer, as opposed to the writer thinking he's a director and giving us a vision.
Yeah.
2008 gives us. Oh wait, is that the right year? Hold on.
Yeah, that's right here.
The Spirit, directed by Frank Miller, screenplay by Frank Miller, comic book series by Will Eisner.
This is a funny one because I like how you introduced this to me. You're kind of like, I'm gonna steal your lines here, because he was like, they saw the success they had with Sin City, and he learned a bit from Rodriguez, because I guess he was along for the ride, right?
Yeah, he was definitely in studio.
And him being Frank Miller was kind of like, I can do that.
Yes.
And this is his I can do that movie.
Yes.
And that's how you present. That's what your words. You presented to me like that, and I was laughing because especially after I watched it, I was like, I see exactly what this means. Because a lot of these movies, by the way, I'm seeing for the first time,
which is amazing.
It's
like, so good.
I know it's satisfying for you,
and painful for you for the fact that you had to sit and watch these in a 2-week span.
Yep.
You did yours in 2 weeks. I did mine in 3 days.
Yeah,
kind
no,
of thing.
mine was quite 2 weeks. It was when I told you. I think I messaged you. I was like, I just watched. What was it Elektra and the Spirit back to back?
And I didn't say
And
anything.
just-
I just knew. Oh my gosh, I knew the pain that you put yourself through.
That was. Well, that wasn't the first. You're right. I watched one movie before that, and then I watched like a week or two ago, and then I started with those, and then I just crammed them all within about 5 days.
Yeah, I told you what to watch last, and you're like, nah. And then
Yeah,
you did what you wanted to do, and I was like,
yeah.
yeah. And because of you, I reversed engineered how I watched it. So I watched The Spirit first,
Ah,
and it progressively got better
yeah.
because it's pretty
Fair
low.
enough.
The cast is amazing. The lovely, lovely Jamie King playing Lorelai, Gabrielle Mach playing the Spirit, Frank Miller in here playing Lebowitz.
Yeah, he was in that for the. He was just a brief cameo.
I mean, I directed and wrote it. Why
Why
wouldn't I
not?
want my say
Yeah.
card and get a a line or two? The lovely, lovely Eva Mendes playing Sans Serif,
Very
Eric
lovely.
Balfour playing Mahmoud, Samuel L. Jackson playing Octopus, Louis Lombardi playing Pathos, lovely, lovely Scarlett Johansson playing Silk and Floss,
Lovely,
lovely, lovely Sarah Paulson playing Ellen,
lovely.
Dan Laura Lee playing Dolan, and Shishel Gabriel playing Yun Sand. I guess Johnny Simmons playing Young Spirit. I'm looking for what's her name? Who's the cop? There we go. Santana Carrick, lovely, lovely, playing Morgenstern, who was
Lovely.
the cop in the background. So technically a small cast, right? He's really only working with like 7 characters, and there's only really like 3 characters on the screen at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But oh my gosh, he really loves that effect.
Yeah.
And doesn't really know how to use that effect yet. So the storytelling in this isn't really there as much as like, let's see what this guy can do.
Yeah.
His Miller is definitely showing because every scene he's with, like I had to write down he's so horny, and then I did a tally of how many times I thought he was horny. I'll give you my final tally at the end of this review.
Yeah.
But the amount of times that the Spirit was on screen
Horny?
with either Jamie, Eva, Scarlett, Paulson, Morgenstern, a dancer, which I didn't get her name, or like all of them, because there's that one scene where it's like all the rakes of the faces of all the girls, and he's just like living his best fantasy. I was like, okay, like Miller's working out something here, right? Like he's definitely he's the Spirit.
Yeah. Yeah. This is an interesting disaster. That's kind of how I present it.
Well put.
Because is it boring? Not really.
No.
It's dumb though, but it looks cool because it looks just like Sin City.
But it does
less,
it?
Yeah, exactly. A little less captivating, but you
Yeah.
can see what it's trying to do, and it's like, what is going on here? Because there's narration, there's fourth wall breaking, there's like there's third person talking. You were naming the cast earlier, okay?
Yes.
Samuel Jackson's the only person who had fun making this movie. That was
He knew
clear.
what movie he was in.
He was the only one.
Everybody else didn't know what movie it is because it both takes itself seriously and like slapsticky.
Yeah, exactly. He was the. I think there's 2 actors I wanted to show. Well, there's 3, but there's one that Samuel Jackson looked like he was the only one having any fun. I mean that.
As the
Sarah Paulson did a great job. She acted her ass off. The main guy,
Gabriel,
one of the most boring leads. He has very little charisma, and he was trying, but you could see he's just not cut out to be a
no
lead.
sauce, no chemistry with any of the girls.
No.
Like, in fact, all the girls like knew how to make it seem like they had chemistry with him.
Yeah,
and like the weirdest superhero because he's like a Boy Scout, but like a gymnast and like a goody two shoes, but like a womanizer. Like I think there's a lot of therapy in this, but I don't know how to like extract it because he's trying to say something, but I don't know what you're trying to say because you said so many things.
Like who? There was a note that I wrote. I was like, why is the police station keeping this fucking guy around? Like, who is this guy? He just like he's not apparently. Well, they tell you later on he is a cop technically. But he died and then came back and is a spy. I'm like, because he's not even a detective. He's just like, find me some evidence on these people, and he like
he's kind of a private eye, but he doesn't like really follow the private eye standards.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is, for me, the best stuff in the movie was all the cop shit. Where like when he's arguing with his partner.
Yeah.
Like they actually had chemistry and like it made
Oh,
sense.
the chief police guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But like anytime he was with a girl, I was like, okay, so like Miller's horny. I can see that.
yeah.
And I like looking at the heroines when they're in it, right? Like Sans Serif was great
Oh,
as like a
Eva Mendes. Yeah,
Eva Mendes as an isolated character, but like doesn't work in what you're trying to build and not around this. This guy shouldn't be the central dude.
no, no, he shouldn't.
Like Octopus should have had like 8 girls and be like, yeah, come on, baby, like we gotta do this.
Samuel, every time he's on screen, I'm like, this guy's having a blast because
He
he said
has
he knew
lines
exactly
too.
like his like no egg on my face, and he delivered that line.
I had you beat like eggs. Like I don't know. These are we know who wrote it. These are terrible lines, but like I'm sorely disappointed. And I was like, I felt this about the movie as well. But he screams that out, and then he's like, "Dead as Star Trek." And I was like, why is Frank Miller taking shots at Star Trek?
Yeah, the dialogue is horrible. The beats are cheesy.
There's no real
And
story.
there's no real story. Because what is it? He's so the spirit and the octopus are the only two people in the city who are like super strong and they can't die.
Yes.
And then they realize there's a connection. You or as a viewer, you realize there's a connection later on, and the octopus is trying to create an army of. No, sorry, he's trying to create these clones with like the super serum so that he can become like all powerful. That's the plot. Like, what does it do with like gumshoeing? What is
in the 1960s?
Nazi?
I wrote, why are we using this effect for this era? Like none of these things make sense. And
No.
then the Nazis, thank you. And then then there's Nazis.
That's what I was like. That's what I was like. In my head, I was like, oh, is Miller showing? Yeah.
He did get to say, "I got 8 of everything," and I thought that was the cool last line in the movie from Samuel Jackson because it's the octopus. But to your strength, there's so many conflicting paths that weren't tied up because your production really relied on one man who was the director, the screenwriter, and he had to get his lines in too. I said off of minute 9 and I think 11 seconds, as soon as they hit the water, like I knew it was bad.
Oh yeah.
Like as soon as the effects, because we've seen what this style of filmmaking can do when they want to do a water scene, and we'll get to that in this list, which is great. But the fact that they just basically put an overlay over Eva Mendes and just had her walk and get like a suitcase and walk back, I was like,
it was horrible.
This is not what you think it is, Miller. Your Miller is showing. So this wasn't good.
Yeah, and then there's
the best parts were the credits.
My favorite part was actually when he was on the rooftops. I pick a time he's on the rooftop, and he's trying to get past these henchmen, so he throws a snowball at one and hits him in the back of the head, and he turns and he jumps on him anyways. It's like, why didn't you just jump on him? Why did you have to? Why did you have to throw a snowball? I don't.
But like that's the whole. It's cartoony. Why are you cartoony when like you could be taking these things seriously? Yeah. I did like the fact that he spent the entirety of the movie having women chase him, and like he can pick any woman that he wants to. And at the end, he dumps them for the city. He's like, "I've only ever loved the city." And I was like, "You asshole."
He does say that. Like he says that at the beginning. Like, the city is my mistress. This is my mommy. It's just sweet. I was like, oh man.
This isn't a long movie, but you feel all of the runtime. It's like an hour and 40 something minutes. Right? Yeah. 42 minutes. You feel it all.
Yeah. Every second. Every last second you feel it.
So my He's So Horny count made it to 17. Every time basically a good-looking woman entered the screen and a shot was shown, make you, the audience, realize that she was a good-looking woman. I did a check and I got 17. So he was definitely working out something on this one.
Yeah, and he's so like oblivious. Like the women in this are written so dumb, and he's written so like oblivious. Like he's like telling Sarah Paulson like, "I love you, you're the only thing," and then he turns around. There's a new rookie that shows up. And he's just kind of like all over her immediately.
And she's for the door, and I was like, "What? Who's this movie for? Like, it's not a children's movie."
You bastard.
Okay, so this is a recommend if you want to laugh. If anyone likes Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow, that's probably better. But I think that's what they're going for, that stylized look of it, even though it's in the vein of Sin City. He's missing cinematographer, a writer's assistant, and a director of photography, all to help complete what movie kind of looks like. because you have too many jobs to do what you want to come across. But I think you nailed it from the jump of if you can't get the spirit right, then your movie's doomed. And we're supposed to love that guy. And I couldn't wait for him to die again.
Yeah, there's a commonality. Not all the movies, but just like there's a few in a row that it's the lead is
Yeah,
just not doing it. He's hurting the movie. It's like, man, like we'll talk another one soon. You couldn't find a better actor.
I guess not.
Why they use this guy, I don't know. He sucked. The movie sucked. The tone was all over the place. It looks cool at first, and then you realize there's no real depth to it, and it's like, okay, well,
And the fun part of this shame of Frank Miller, I'm going to tell Coke the other movies, comic book movies that were out in 2008, and then
yeah.
you can determine if this was the best movie of that year. Here we go. 2008 had Punisher Warzone.
Which I appreciate, by the way. That's actually.
It's interesting.
Did we do this for the show?
Yeah, we did. We did
No.
that one. We didn't do the first one. That's the fun one.
Yes, yeah.
Where he goes to like Prague and like kills everybody.
And he's actually like a decent Punisher. It's just
It's not a good script,
it's not a good
and
script.
it didn't have the machine yet. And speaking of the machine they didn't have yet, The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, 2008. Hancock, Will Smith, 2008. Wanted, Jolie and
Oh, yeah,
McAvoy.
what the curved bullets.
Great soundtrack, 2008. Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. Totally underrated movie, 2008. Iron Man #1,
Yeah.
the beginning of where we're sitting now, the downfall of Marvel.
Well, it's on the upswing. It starts. It's the
where
pivot point.
fingers are crossed. And The Dark Knight.
You know what's? Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that came out in 2008 too. That's a big year. You know what was funny about the Iron Man movie is my girlfriend at the time knew that Iron Man was my favorite, and she's like, "Oh, let's go see it." And I was like, and I kept saying, she's like, "We could buy tickets in advance. Like, we don't need to. Nobody knows who Iron Man is." 'Cause that's how I was used to, like. That's how I grew up. Like, nobody.
Right, fair. Yeah.
Opening weekend, sold out. Sold out. We
Sold
had to get
out.
like this movie on Sunday, like afternoon, to go see it because I was like, "Oh man, Thursday, Friday, Saturday was all sold out."
That
Couldn't
movie
believe it.
changed so much for like geeks ourselves just in
Yeah,
our own lives. But like how movies are treated,
yep,
because that's when they start doing
yeah,
teaser credits. And
that's
like
right.
we got
Yeah.
Samuel Jackson, and we didn't know what they were setting up for, but we knew what they were setting up for, and then we had
Mhm.
no idea what they could possibly set up. So
It was a fun time to watch this stuff because the internet wasn't sophisticated enough to be picking every little thing apart. It was just kind of, what are they going to do here? There wasn't leaks and stuff like they are
and look at
now.
that list. It was so vast in
Yeah.
different tones and like
Yeah.
shots at it, right? Like some people were going for a comic book property. Some were doing the Hancock of like, we have an idea. We just like Will Smith. Let's give him a superhero movie
Yeah, that's a fun year. And then you have the Dark Knight, which was very,
that just hammers home.
yeah.
Like, okay, like can't really fuck around with comic books now. Like they can be taken seriously. Womp womp. Spirit. Moving on. 2005. Elektra.
Yeah, so I hadn't seen Daredevil or Elektra.
Yeah, this is your first look at this
Yeah.
world of what Fox
Yeah.
has been doing. I'm glad I removed Daredevil off of this list because that's its own fun. That when you're
Okay.
ready, we're going to put you through it. Directed by Rob Bowman. Writers are Mark Steven Johnson and Frank Miller. He's referenced for the comic book character. I don't know if he got to write the screenplay based on what I'm going to read next. He probably didn't. Zach Penn, Stuart Zinkerman, and M. Raven Metzner. And if you haven't noticed what we said about comic books, if you have more than 2 writers, it's probably not going to be good. I think the same can be said if we're using Elektra as the example for screenwriting.
You know, new cast? Yeah, you're right. But
I wanted a little beat there for people to be
okay.
like, oh, it's going to be another terrible one. It is. Starring the lovely, lovely Jennifer Garner as Elektra.
Lovely.
Goran Veniski as Mark Miller. Kristen Zine as Abby Miller. Will Yoon Lee as Kurgigi. Kari Haruki Tagawa as Roshi.
I'm going to love you pronouncing all these names. This is great.
I'm going to be butchering this entire episode, so get ready for... Who is he talking about? Terrence Stamp as Stick. Natasha Malthby as Typhoid. Bob Sapp, who's kind of a legend, as Stone. Chris Eckerman as Tattoo, who was my MVP. Like, he was actually the coolest character in this. Colin Cunningham as McCabe. Hiro Kakagawa as Mozumi. And Mark Holton as Bauer. I guess Laura Ward as young Elektra. But, wow, this was a movie.
Yeah, this was the thing. First things first, since we're talking about the cast, Jennifer Garner looked great. Jennifer Garner looked great. I actually don't think she was horribly miscast in this. I think what she was given was not the
Terrible.
great, not
I
good at all.
agree. She also doesn't really act in this movie. She's
Yeah,
kind of monotone and robotic.
but that
And
is that is kind of Elektra though, right? She is cold. She is distant. She's what I didn't like was how they put her in this whole mother daughter thing.
that was weird. The
Really
fact that
messed up.
this should have been a Far East type of movie, like if it was
Should have.
based in China or Hong Kong or Thailand, would have made more sense. The fact it was like she was stuck at a lake house on like this rolling property,
And
that's not great.
the forced romance was weird as
That's
hell.
not. There's way more hedge maze than I ever could have predicted.
Yeah,
That's kind of weird. So there's a lot of things working against it that you can't even see what little is working.
which is crazy because the first like 10 minutes
It's really good.
isn't that bad. I was like, okay, this is kind of what's going on here. And then it's like you have a mission, the new one coming in. You have to go to this lake house.
Yeah, that's the
And then
answer.
she gets there, she settles in, and she's like,
And then she
"Where are
starts
my
living
targets?"
like living a life. What did you
Yeah.
think of when they kept doing the weird editing, anxiety, like crossbow OCD effects, where like they give you flashes of? Did you like that? Are you a fan of that?
No, I was the I was the fan of that. It was I think she did the best she could with the material she was given. I don't think she's the best option for this. I think it's horribly written. I think this feels like a rush job. I don't know the background
Yes.
here, but this feels like we have to put this out this year. It has to have her, and she's like wasn't available. They're just like we got 2 weeks to shoot this. Let's go.
Or more likely, it went through several reshoots because nothing makes sense to the previous sort of scene. And the fact that this was a spin-off of Daredevil, which was a moderate success, this goes so far from what Fox was trying to build in New York that you could see why they just kind of wiped their hands of this and like, we still got X-Men, right? And everyone's like, yeah. And everyone just went to the X-Men side of the studio as opposed to Elektra. But there's so many things that happen in this movie that it just makes it more boring because I don't know if it's treated well.
Oh, look at that! I just thought this was in her contract. She had to make this movie.
Hmm. So she
She signed
signed
on.
signed one knowing that she had to do two,
Yeah,
and then they sandbagged her.
and they sandbagged her. Yeah, and then
Ugh.
and then I remember after this, like it was like this was like the excuse not to make any more female-led superhero movies because it was like
Uh,
I don't think it's not her fault, man. Like they have the Chaste in here, and the Chaste is like they're kind of stupid.
yeah.
Like there's Stone, who's the big dude, and like he deflects all these things, and then a tree falls on him. He just turns to smoke, and I understand they all, and I understand they all die like that. That's how the hand dies. They turn to
Sure.
smoke. It was such a cheap death. I was like, that's it.
They added that into like what could have been a Born Identity movie, kind
Yeah,
of. There was mysticism in it, kind
yeah,
of. There's magic in it, kind of. And then there's like our family's trapped at home and intruders are coming in.
yeah. Home Alone.
That's too many cooks. You didn't tell any of those stories properly, right? Like you make fun of the hand, but I said like they look like putties, right? Like
Yes,
two
yeah.
punches and then they just explode into the smoke. And it's like,
And then not to
what is
mention the
this?
fight choreography is horrible.
Yes, I was gonna say the one good fight sequence was like the house party where everyone just starts breaking everything, like crashing in, and like
Right?
she starts
Yeah,
to fire.
you're right.
That was the last fight scene. One and
It's just
two,
stunts.
it's just stunts.
Yeah, because if you think about think of the fights, right? There's that one
Yep.
which has things going on. Is there much fighting? Not really, but there's room to move around with. You look at the final fight where she's fighting Karigi or Karigu, I can't remember his name, and it's just tapestry. It's just
Yeah,
blankets, and it's just
which could have made sense if you built that movie out. But the fact that you made it this lake house espionage thing, and she's been using crossbows and bow and arrows this whole time,
yeah,
and like now she got to fight the mysticism of Agent China.
yeah. And so he's just doing like basically Tai Chi on the screen, and then they cut to her looking around, and these blankets are blowing around her, and it's like, oh, where's he gonna come from? And then it's like one shot, and that's it. Then then his chase. There's the big strong guy Stone who gets
Right.
crushed by a tree, so there's not much fighting there because you can't compete with him anyways. He's too big. Then there's Tattoo. You said you like, but you don't
I liked
fight
his power
him.
set. He didn't do anything.
No, but I'm bringing in their power sets, and their power sets are like this. They're made up too. These are all made up characters except for Stone, um, because they don't have to do any fight choreography. Is my point of view. Like
Okay.
Buddy with the tattoos, he just summons animals, so that's
Yeah.
CG fights. Guy with the main guy with the blankets or the sheets, he's deceptive. Typhoid, I guess it's a spin on Typhoid Mary. She
Yeah.
just kisses you
So
and tortures
solid
you.
lesbian kiss. I
Right?
appreciated that
No, no,
one secret, but she's terrible.
Abs-
Yeah.
absolutely. But I'm saying they did all this to get out of doing fight choreography, and it's
Yeah.
obvious there's no fights because of all their power sets. Like, let's make these guys a certain power set. Like, none of them go like, it's
Good
not like
point.
Wolverine. Like, oh, he heals. Okay, so that means you can beat him up. No,
Right.
the one guy you can beat up is built like a dump truck, so you can't do anything to him. You just drop a tree. So it's like they knew what they were getting into. It's this like low budget, rushed. Obviously, she didn't want to do it, but she did what she. I don't know. It was,
This is straight like this is a Tubi movie. Like this
yeah,
gets made in a weekend, and then
yeah.
like okay, throw it on streaming. And then what about the weird shotgun cook dude? Like he basically sacrifices himself so like his
Yeah,
girl can
McCabe,
like
right? McCabe,
yeah can disappear with his family. I was like, what? Why?
and he was so reluctant too. Yeah, because he
And
shot Stone, right? He shot Stone through the door.
yes, and he wipes it off. It does anything.
Yeah,
But like you sacrificed yourself for the woman you love to go leave with her surrogate family. So like she gonna get banged out by the guy that she leaves with, not with the guy that stayed in the house with the shotgun.
was it that type of relationship though? I don't think
No and yes, right?
it
Like
was his handler. He was
that's
her
the
handler,
muddling of
right?
the water, right? Yeah. That and like she has a contract on killing both of those characters as well, but chooses not to. She chooses the
Right.
family kind of aspect. So again, you're trying to accomplish a lot of things, but not really because you didn't give the care to do any of those one stories justice. You just kept throwing a whole bunch of things in it, and then put Elektra on top of it, and it's not good.
No.
But there's flashes of like this is interesting. Shang Tsung's good. Shang
Yeah,
Tsung's
Yeah,
good.
there's like the hand is like
Yeah.
this
Boardroom.
round table or long
Yeah,
table
yeah,
boardroom. Thank you. It's boardroom of people that are just trying to like put out hits on people. I was like, I've never
yeah.
seen that version of the hand before. That's interesting. Shang Tsung is always a good villain. He
Yes.
looks great, but then he doesn't really do much. He just gives
He's
his
in it for
seat away.
5 minutes. Exactly.
Yeah,
Like he got the paycheck to be like, can you do a day of shooting? I can do 15 minutes. All right, got you. Just
yeah,
read this line. The weird flashbacks and then like the sad little girl saw
yeah,
demons. I was like, so there's demons in this too?
yeah.
Like pick a tone, then follow through. Then you can decide who this is for. Because it seemed like they're trying to make it for everyone and nobody wants this.
How did you like her being the little girl being like not the little girl, the younger girl being the treasure, and she's like the secret weapon of the hand.
I wrote Abby is the worst. And then she used her chain thing, and I
Yeah,
wrote Abby is the worst. So no, I didn't like it. I
no,
didn't
it's
like
stupid.
it was very stupid. The dubstep training montage where like
Yep.
early 2000s sound that they were doing over montages. There's a lot trying to happen in this. It's only an hour and 38 minutes and it's
Yeah.
still too long.
Yep.
So,
And I watched this in the spirit back to back.
if you don't love comic book movies after this,
And I just remember I texted you. And I was like, I watched back to back. I just had to get that off my chest,
yeah,
and then left it.
I wanted to go in. I wanted to, but I couldn't. I had to save this for the pod. I wrote they should have just went to Europe and done some crazy shit
Should have.
because she's Greek.
Yep.
And that's where like we saw Punisher, and you just blow up shit over there, right? Like it could have been so much more violent, which would have been amazing for Elektra. Just to have her be an assassin.
Yeah, the whole dad and daughter thing was. I would have rather her go to do a job, and then somebody else beats her to it, and then she's trying to figure out what happened, and then maybe the hand's like, "You failed us. What's going on with you?" And then she's trying to find this guy while the hand's trying to figure out what's going on with her, and like that's much more interesting to me than
It, wa-
I gotta be a mom for this single dad and his daughter who's shockingly just like me. Oh, guess what? She is me. She trained with the hand too. It's like,
terrible.
oh man.
She crawled so Black Widow could walk, because like
Yeah.
you see what eventually this type of character could turn into, and
Mhm.
even that's not good. So like one, female writers. Two, you were right. Maybe just have fighting in your action movie. Like that would have
It's
changed a whole bunch of things. And three, like, I don't know which question I would ask you.
because like when you talk about like conflict and fighting. Sorry, like
Oh,
the fighting in this, like in the Spirit, if we go back to there, like that mud pit where Samuel Jackson and the Spirit are fighting. So the Spirit and the Octopus are fighting in that mud pit, and they're just grabbing bigger weapons and hitting each other with them. Like it's stupid. I think this is dumb, but there's at least there's a bit of entertainment there.
There's interesting. They're trying something.
They're trying something. They're
Before
trying
you jump, because that reminds me of this note. Is Sam Jackson just wearing mud face? Because he wears a lot of mud face in it.
He wears mud face, and he wears swastika.
I wasn't. So your Miller is showing, and that's another note I get to add to the Spirit. Going back to your comparison to Elektra.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So they're actually fighting and doing things, even if it's very, very stylized and silly. In Elektra, it's like nobody's really fighting. It's just stunts, a bit of stunts, and then blankets,
and then running. We constantly have to be running. She's like a top assassin that probably could go hand to hand with anyone that isn't a superpower, but spent more time running or freaking out in her head.
Don't have money for fight choreography, so we just gotta run places, and things fall on people.
You had money for smoke putties. You couldn't just smoke everything, like one punch.
And snakes, lots of snakes, like a lot of snakes.
Like we didn't talk about the hedge maze enough. There's a lot of hedge mazing shenanigans that happen in this. There's like
a lot of snakes.
It doesn't make sense to anything we've read about Elektra.
No, it doesn't. No, all these people. I was like, what is going on here?
The only thing was missing was John Garrett.
Yeah, you were talking about. It's your boy.
Hate him.
You were talking about like the head thing she was doing. She does have in the comics. She does have like precognition.
Oh, okay.
So she could kind of see what's happening. You know, like she'd run into the room, and then she didn't dodge properly. Yeah. So like that was kind of cool. They incorporated that because she does have that sometimes in the comics. But
look at you straining to give it a compliment. We think it's bad, but this is 2005. So here's the list of the other comic book movies that came out. You could tell me this finishes at the top of the list or at the bottom. 2005.
I know about me. It's there. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Fantastic Four. That's the Fox version with Jessica Alba, Lovely, and Chris Evans. Sky High with Kurt Russell and Kelly Preston. Family movie, low-key, not bad. Marvel's Man-Thing.
Really?
Yes. Which we now have to do in its own thing.
Yeah, we have to.
There's so much there. Constantine came out this year.
I still don't think I've watched that actually.
Wow. V for Vendetta came out this year.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Batman Begins came out this year.
Yeah, there it is.
And one other film.
What's the other one?
We will discuss it later on in this episode.
Oh, okay.
Moving on. We go to 300, The Rise of an Empire, 2014.
Yeah, so we're starting with actually, I won't even say that. You just get into it.
Yeah, because that's the weird thing about 300 Part 2, Rise of an Empire. It's a sequel.
It's also a prequel. But it's also terrible. like a midquel.
In real time. It's, oh my gosh. This is not well executed at all.
Wasn't elegant at all. It was not elegant at all.
It's kind of better than the comic, but that's not saying much because I hated the Xerxes backstory comic.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
But it has influences of it. Anyway, 2014, directed by Noam Muro. Writers are screenplay by Zack Snyder and Kurt Johnston. Frank Miller is listed as the graphic novelist for Xerxes. So
it's based on that, basically.
Yeah, but that's a who's who of collections for what we got there. Because you have the Zack Snyder effect in this, even though he's not directing it. And Frank Miller on not his best work to make a sequel to a movie that was, at the time, pretty cutting edge.
Mm-hmm.
But that was, 6 years ago?
8.
Wow. Let's get into the casting. Sullivan Stapleton playing Themistocles. The lovely Eva Green playing.
Oh, Themistocles. That's his name.
I'm not even going to try to say it properly because I did not like this. Lovely Eva Green playing Artemisia. Lovely Lena Headey, who I think saved the movie, playing Queen Goro. Hans Matherson playing Askylos. Colin Mulvey playing Skylas. David Willem playing Dilios. Rodrigo Santoro playing Xerxes. Jack O'Connell, who is the vampire from Sinners, playing Callisto.
Really? Like the main guy? Oh, that's where I recognized him. He's the younger, he's
Yes.
the kid. Okay, because I was like, why does this guy
Who
look
is this guy?
familiar? Yeah.
And it took like 10 years, 11 years for him to get to that level of like, huh, you're at
That's
least at a
so
spot where I
yeah,
can
because
recognize you.
I hadn't seen this movie before, but I watched Sinners recently, and I was like, this kid looks familiar, like the shape of his face. I was like, where's he from? And I could not place it. Thank you.
Andrew
Thank you.
Tyrion playing Epiphanes, Igor Null playing Kigdarius, Andrew Plevin playing Daxos, Peter Menza playing Persian Emissary, and Ben Turner playing General Alphanefis, and Kevin Fry as Lavicius Greek, which is awesome. Let's get into what 300 The Rise of an Empire was trying to do,
Yeah,
but I
so
don't know if they did it.
no, it was a mess. It's this, like we're saying, it's a prequel, sequel, sidequel, and
Psycho's funny.
I was pretty hard on the lead character for the spirit.
Mhm.
This guy's got him beat for the most aggressively boring. Like he's like aggressively boring
And
of a
he's
lead character.
following in the heels of maybe
Friend of the show.
friend of the show, but Hall of Fame scene stealer. Because when
Yeah,
he's on screen, he's kind of like, okay, I gotta watch this guy.
yeah.
Doesn't
This
hold a
guy's
candle to that.
this guy's boring as hell. Even when he's like sharing scenes with Eva Green, it's like you got nothing, man. Like she's acting her ass off, like over the top acting,
Yeah,
and he can't. He's just standing there. He's got the same face for every expression. He's mad. He's sad. Like it looks the same. And he's horrible, man.
you got points, but look at the constructs in which he's trying to act, because it's not like 300 where there's at least some sets and you're playing off of that over a green screen. This is all green screen. So
Very true.
you're basically in a diaper and a cape, and you have to go up against a dude that's fully clothed and then still realize like you're still referencing this story from what is it, the early 1900s or 1700s? I don't know what time it is, whatever.
So does the guy from the Spear get the same excuse?
I think it was bad construction from the beginning, and even if he didn't know what he was doing, he's always in a scene with a better actor who can he can
Ah,
lean
okay.
off of. This guy from 300
Brutal.
only
Brutal.
gets Eva Green to play off of, and she's trying her best with not a lot.
No.
And I'm looking at this film being like, trying to remember what 300 was because I watched this first and then I watched 300, and I remember just saying like, I think the coloring is better. Like I think there was an attempt to like raise it and kind of match sort of the beauties of that time that they were trying to go for. But then the CGI just overweighs everything, and then you
Yeah.
forget that like there's people trying to act in this because they try and use all the glitz and glams, and then you just remember like, oh no, this is like a sizzle reel, right? Like they're just trying to show you all the slow motion cool, like, did you see this Roman guard? He slashed him in the side and then he stabbed him, and it's like that's not a story. That's a cutscene, right? Like this would be a cool game.
Yep. Because there's a lot. There is, to your point, there is a lot of action. Like it starts with action. There's tons of action. The original 300 starts a little slower than this,
Yes,
which I prefer. But this
there's a
is,
story.
yeah, there's exactly there's a story they got to get through. This one's not really a story. It's kind of like, okay, this is before what happened in the first movie, but this is after what happened in the third, and then this is kind of what's happening at the same time. So it's just fight after fight after fight. So people that just want a popcorn flick and don't really care about anything else, just fights, they'll probably enjoy this.
I
To
don't
be
even
honest,
think that though, because even the popcorn people wanted like an A to Z. Like, tell me a simple story, right? Like, Lethal Weapon's a simple story, but it's a popcorn. Like, Die Hard's a simple story, but the action is good and it makes sense. This one opens with like you showing us the dead face of Gerard Butler's character from the previous movie, and then being like, okay, no, like we have to avenge this, but like, no, 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 wait.
let's
Before
go back.
he turned into this, let's set up this villain. So you've jumped me from like three different places, and then you try to bring me in with a connection that I would have had to the first movie, but that was 8 years ago.
Yep.
So even if I was 14 when I saw it, then I can't do math. 22 now.
Yep.
And I'm like, I don't even like 300 the same way. Like,
Exactly. Yeah, that's the problem. There's too much, and the next one we talk about is the same thing. There's just too
yes,
much time in between sequels.
yes,
You can't do a sequel that's tied so closely to the first one with that much of a gap, like 8 9 years. Like you gotta be a little smarter than that. You can do a sequel in that time. You
you
just can't
can.
lean on the first as much as you think you can.
You know what you can do in 8 years? Write a story that's worth filming a sequel for, or write three movies that one's a prequel, one's a sequel, and one's happening during the same time,
Yeah.
and then squeeze it. Like Disney's made a bankload of money just doing that because there's been a Lion King, a Lion King 2, and a Lion King 2.5,
Yeah, and then a Scar movie or
and then a
whatever.
Scar. And all of those are stories, and all of those have fan bases, but all of them understand the world that they're going to be. And this movie's not long. This movie is an hour and 42 minutes,
Yeah.
and you're trying three different plot lines on top of like dudes still running around being like, "This is for Sparta," who don't like wearing their helmets either. Like every time they took off a helmet to be like, "Yes," you get a close up on their grunty faces.
Yeah.
Like, this movie seems like the promotional material that you use to get funding for the movie that you actually
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
make.
Yeah.
Like we have these cameras now, and like look at the ab structure that we've built on computers. It's like it's not good.
Out of the list of movies that we watched here, this might be the most forgettable.
Forgivable or forgettable?
Forgettable.
Uh,
Like I
yeah,
don't know. I can't tell you what the story is. I don't
no,
know.
and it's
Eva Eva,
less.
Eva Green is somehow the backbone of Xerxes that made him become a god within the first 10 minutes of the movie. He's just like he walks
Yeah,
to a pool and boom, he's a god. And I was like, oh
I was so they put the Lazarus pit in this. Like he's
yeah. But I'm like, shouldn't you say that to the ending? Nope. Because it's
that's a good
also
story.
a sequel. It's not just a prequel. It's like,
That's a good story
okay.
though. Yeah, she's the sister of Xerxes before he transforms into like Goldar.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he becomes Goldar. And then she's supposed to meet with the the main guy, the boring guy.
Yep. Yeah.
And then
Themi.
they just have sex instead.
Sure.
And which is probably
Because
the
why
best
not?
scene in the movie. Probably the best scene in the movie.
Yeah. Because
Uh,
he has to hold her up. Yeah, it's
yeah.
like standing sex.
Yeah, exactly. It's very aggressive, very Miller, that Miller sex where they hate each
Yeah.
other, they fight each other and then
Yeah.
they start
It's
sexing.
true. His Miller was showing
Miller
her.
was showing. Um, and then because he did that, it makes her even more mad when he won't join them. And then there's just fights. I don't know I honestly can't tell you what the story was here.
I find it ironic that it references a movie about a main villain who killed the real heroes in the first 300, but he doesn't fight at all in this one.
Oh, he's a coward in this one.
He sits on like a throne, and like
Yeah.
his sister fights it. And I was like, so why was this even a Xerxes origin story? Like, there
He's
should have been
barely
an
in it.
after credit if you were doing anything.
Yep.
It's weird. And that's me being nice. The one nice thing I wrote is it's still less homoerotic than 300, even
It
though it's
is.
still homoerotic.
It is
It's,
less homo.
it's just
Yeah.
less homoerotic.
Yes. Yeah. It is.
So if you're looking for less homoeroticism,
But not no homoeroticism.
not no, there's
There's
still
still
homoeroticism.
yes. Yeah.
Happy Pride Month to everybody out there celebrating.
Yeah, Pride Month.
But this isn't the one I would recommend for Pride people. I'd be like, nah, there's something a little more
There's
gayer. Yeah, there's gayer.
and it has a story.
Yeah, I the one compliment I gave it, it looks better than the comic. But then I remembered that I hated the comic, so like the bar is super low. It's bad.
Yeah, it's no this. I don't like it at all.
I didn't think it was the worst, right? Like I slotted it above Elektra, which had some interesting plot points, and I like Jennifer Garner, so that's higher. And then Spirit, which like amazing ensemble cast, but that's about it. And he
Mhm.
didn't know what he was doing yet. So this one, I don't like any of the actors in it,
This is
just
the
as what
easiest
they've been giving.
out of the three that we've talked about so far. This is the easiest one to just put on in the background and have it on, and nobody's gonna if there's even if you have a group of
Yeah,
people over, and you
sure.
put this on, nobody's gonna be like, "What's happening here?" They're just gonna be like, "Oh,
Yeah,
there's some fights." In the other movies, they're gonna be like, they'll see Samuel Jackson with a swastika, or they'll see Elektra
which
doing, they'll be like,
happened.
"What?" They'll be like, "Yeah," and they'll be like, "What's
Yeah,
going on here?" This one, there's no confusion. It's just fights, and when's it happening doesn't matter. It's just fights. It's like, oh, okay, is it prequel? It doesn't matter. They're just so
the one thing they'll say is, "Hey, isn't that guy from Sinners?" And then they'll move
yeah,
on. Like, yep, it's the only
yeah,
guy that made it out of this.
yeah.
2014. So, do you want to know the other comic book movies that were in theaters during the rise of the Empire?
Hit me.
So, a special shout out to this one because this helped change what Marvel was doing, and it's All Hail the King, Marvel One Shot,
Uh-huh.
which helped erase the ending of Iron Man 3, which almost made like top 10 lists of like a great comic book movie. But that whole Trevor flip, Mandarin's not Mandarin.
I remember I was
shot themselves in the
heartbroken.
foot.
I
Yeah,
was
that was.
heartbroken at the time.
And we started the whole like, oh, they Trevored it, right? Like
I tried it, yeah.
Trevor was a terrible name for like 2 years. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Jamie
Ooh.
Foxx and Andrew Garfield. Yeah.
Yes.
So you see how Empire started to rise a little bit.
Yeah.
Here we go. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Michael Bay version,
First,
the first one, which is
oof.
the worst of the two.
Yeah.
I blocked this, so this is the lower rank of it. Kingman, Secret Service, which is
Oh,
I think it's a solid movie, but I had to chop 2014 in half because we do it twice,
yeah.
and this is worth 300 slots. If it's
Okay.
better than one of these movies, that's a success.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
not.
No.
I don't think it's better than Amazing Spider-Man 2. I don't think it's better than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's definitely not better than Kingsman.
No, it's not. No, Kingsman. Kingsman, I enjoyed.
Yeah. And that's why it pained me to put it into this tier.
Right.
So imagine what I'm not telling you, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a murderer's row. But yeah, let's stop talking about 300 Rise of the Empire because we've said enough that we want to talk about this.
Move on to the next one.
Which is wild. Still in 2014. So there's a lot happening without me referencing the movies that are currently out. But we get another sequel. So they didn't learn from, I don't know which one came first, but I guess they didn't learn because you wouldn't have got the numbers for how your movie performed until after the fact. You just would have put it into production. And that could have been the problem for both of these movies. Because if Frank Miller's attached to both of them and they're both filming in the same calendar year, his attentions aren't on both. A Dame to Kill For, 2014. Directed by Frank Miller and Robert Rodriguez. Written by Frank Miller. I can see 3 things wrong with that already, but let's get into the casting.
Did Rodriguez actually do anything, or did he just say, throw my name on there?
I think it was his studio, and I think he showed up to be like, I'll help with the editing.
Yeah.
I haven't quoted, I haven't done research, but this really seems like a Frank Miller baby with a Robert Rodriguez stamp.
Yeah.
And that ended up burning both of them because you watched the movie.
Yeah, I did watch the movie.
Mickey Rourke returns as Marv. Does a decent job. I'll give him that.
Overused, though. Overused.
We'll get into it.
You cast it.
The single lovely Jessica Alba for Nancy coming back because I did not like what they did with her. Josh Brolin as Dwight. Jordan Gordon-Levitt as Johnny. Lovely Rosario Dawson as Gail.
Lovely.
Why he came back? For the money, I guess, but not needed. Bruce Willis returns as Hartigan. We'll get to it when we get to it. Lovely Eva Green as Ava. We got to talk about the Ava effect, the Eva Green effect. I think this round too. Powers Booth returns as Senator Rourke. Dennis Haysbert takes over for Manute because unfortunately Michael Clark Duncan has passed in the time.
Did he pass away by this
Yes.
point? Okay.
Ray Liotta as Joey, not bad. Christopher Maloney as Mort, really good. Jeremy Piven as Bob, not bad. Christopher Lloyd as Croning. Lovely Jamie King reprises a role as Goldie and Wendy. Oh. Lovely Juno Temple as Sally. Stacy Keach as Wallenquist. I can't say it properly. Martin Kosokax as Damian Lord. If I could say his name right, I'd give him credit because he was actually pretty good in this. Jude Cizolela as Lieutenant Leibowitz, and lovely Jamie Chung as Miho.
Lovely.
And I didn't even realize this. Appearance by Lady Gaga as Bertha.
Yes, she's the diner chick.
Yeah. Server?
Yes.
Yes.
Server, yeah, there you go. So I had to sit with this one for a little while because, like, was it bad? It was like, yes, but also the Dame to Kill For adaptation was actually good.
Yes.
It was really good. Like, as part of, like, considering how the first Sin City adapted the story so well,
correct,
this one did as well. I was like, oh, that middle story
is a story.
Yeah. And you can tell that's
the only story. Yeah. It's the only story. That's what I'm trying to jump down your throat. I don't want to, but
no, that's exactly what I was going to say, because the other two, one of them's not bad, the other one's horrible, and it's like, but they're not original. And like I texted you, Hell and Back, the volume 7 was sitting right there, and it's a top 3. I think it's one of the best ones.
Yes,
and it was right there, and you could have just weird. All you could have done, Dank, was just half this movie, A Dame to Kill For, half this movie held him back, and in between you put like a short.
Yep, you just cross over the stories by going to the bar, going to the casino, going into town. Very
That's
easy.
it. They don't need to link.
Nope,
They don't
they
need to
don't.
link. Like the first one, the three parts kind of came together in the end, but loosely. This one, they're trying so hard to link them all,
Mm-hmm.
and Marv's in two of them, and he does the same thing in both of them.
Yep.
He's just like used, and it's like this is
And he loses all of his charm and he loses all of
yeah,
his like the sweetness from him because you're just like, oh, you just need him to fill out what you didn't have prepared for what's
exactly.
going on here. Um, for me, this movie suffered on we have to repeat what we did in order to get the same success. When, to your point, this should have just been Sin City, a Dame to Kill for an hour and 40 minutes or
Mhm.
hour and 30 minutes, tell one story, and then just pepper in other characters who get like little reprises and little scenes that Miller could have been writing. It sucks for me because the Hardigan and Nancy story.
Yeah, that was the worst one. That was the worst one, like by far, because
It's so front and center. The promotion is behind all of it, and it completely undercuts how great of a character Hardigan is from the first one
yep.
when he's showing up as a ghost. So like
Not
Nancy doesn't get over her like savior complex. Like it's the day after, right? And it's really dark for her, but there's a way of writing that where it makes sense to at least the world that you're building. You just kind of put her up front as like this drunken loser who wants revenge and then doesn't know how to take it. And then like she's crazy now too. And she's the promotion. Like she's the center of the poster. And people are coming for Alba. And like you completely neuter her from the character that she was
yep.
like 8 years ago. We're just gonna keep saying 8 years probably.
She was actually 9 for this one
Wow.
because Sin City was 2005. So yeah, not only that, but the way they tell this story, okay, they undercut so many other things. It's
Yeah.
so Hardigan's sacrifice in the first movie,
Mm-hmm.
waste, because he sacrificed himself to protect her from Rourke, who apparently you could just walk right in and shoot.
Shoot him. Yep. At any given moment. You can just,
Because that's what Nancy did. She just walked right in there. She taught herself how to shoot and went bang. And I was like, well, then what the hell was the whole Joseph Gordon-Levitt story? He's playing poker and stuff. This guy's super dangerous.
you
Bruce Willis in the first one, like I said, killed himself to keep her safe. And meanwhile, you can just walk in his front door and shoot him. I was like, this is stupid, man. It
I
just,
always got my pen knife. I was like, all right.
oh, it ruined everything. It ruined the whole.
And that's one that I don't even think he has a story for. I think there's just like I want to play around with the Rourke character. So let me
Yeah.
give him a illegitimate son. Sure, that's an interesting idea, but you had just given us three stories that you had written, and
Yeah.
then found a way. And I think that's again the genius of Rodriguez. Found a way to weave them together because he understands storytelling from a director mindset. Miller understands story from a comic book writer mindset. So at any page, I can just add in a character and a line of dialogue that says, oh, I'm here now, and hey,
Yeah.
I'm the son of this guy. So, while that can work sometimes on the page, on the screen, it's this isn't even the same Basin City that we saw 9 years ago.
Not only that, but they didn't even spend any time in it. Like this one, because like I said, I was sitting with this one for a while because I was thinking, I was like, why isn't this as good as the first one? And like you just have to kind of think, like the first one, Sin City really felt like a world. In this one, it just felt like a backdrop.
Yeah,
And they're trying to do this with these characters, and the first story really isn't that bad. It's just kind of weird.
yeah.
Like, it was kind of interesting when he comes in, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and he's I'm a
It's like a
big
hot
shot.
shot. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Cocky kid. You don't know where it's going, and
yeah,
then it doesn't really go anywhere. So you're like, oh,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. The whole story is designed, at least from what I interpreted, to set Rourke up as this untouchable force.
yeah.
Like, you can't get to this guy no matter what. And then
Well, you can get
he's just
very
he gets
easily.
got by a drunk stripper. It's like, okay, in his own home.
It sucks how much they book ended this movie with bad shit that you laugh at because the Miller has some again. Josh Brolin acts his ass off in
Yeah.
this.
He's just great in this.
Eva Green acts her ass off in this. Dennis Haysbert really tries. Ray Liotta really tries, even though it's connected to another story. But
Yeah.
for me, the Maloney Piven connection, like Mort is
Mort was awesome. Yeah.
he's
Mort was
going
awesome.
for it, and like for me was really comic accurate because I remember reading that
Yeah.
story and be like, no, no, this is the simp. Like he very easily falls for this girl.
And then goes nuts. Yeah.
Martin, who plays Damian Lord, I really liked his acting too, right? So like I like that middle story. It
Yeah.
has all the sex, the allure, the this dame
Characters.
came out of nowhere. Like it has a story, it has building blocks behind it. So I again wouldn't be surprised if this is where Robert Rodriguez stepped in and be like, all
Yeah.
right, I got this one. This is the like we can work this one out.
Yeah. Because it was really well done. I was like, I'm into this. And then the one part that did take me out is when after the facelift.
Yeah. Which happens in the comic, so
No, I
it's
know, but they
even
made
but it's even weirder in the movies because you're like, I saw the movie before I was reading the comics. Like, what the
yeah,
hell are they doing? Like, where's Clive Owen?
yeah. Why don't they just put? They couldn't get Clive on at all because
I
they
don't know, but it makes sense because to get another actor because his face is a little different. But they don't match up. Like
no, they don't make Josh Brolin try and look like Clive Owen,
yeah,
and it's hilarious. It was so distracting. Because they got the hair too. It's nothing like Clive Owen.
he looks like when Connor for real in Pop Star is trying to pretend to be Matthew Modine because that's the
Yeah.
joke that they make in the and only the few people that understand that tiny reference will laugh at the fact of they kind of made him look like a monster and that's what they do in this
Yeah.
movie.
It took me out. I was like,
Yeah,
what are we doing?
and that's when it turns laughable. And God bless them. The fact that like Jamie Chung and Dennis Haysbert had to step into roles that were already occupied by other characters, it shows.
Yes, because Jamie, yeah,
Manute looks different and like acts different, and like he doesn't have that same sort of
gravitas.
yeah, and like husk. He's not looming over the characters like he first did. And Miho, she looks different.
She's nothing like.
The makeup that
Oh.
they gave Jamie accentuated her eyes
Mhm.
more so that they would be representational of like Japanese culture, where the first actress, I can't remember her name, so I don't have it,
She was
just
great.
looked like her
Yeah,
and
she was great. Yeah,
didn't have to say much, right? And just did what she had to do. So I hate when that happens. I hate when you can't bring back the actor from the original one and they have at least a pivotal role that like you want that same actor because you can make that connection easier, but you want someone with the same level of gravity or understanding of the character to keep that energy alive. And that's where it misses for me
yeah,
among other places.
yeah. This one, so like the first three movies,
Marv shows up to like fight, and the fight's hilarious because he takes his arm and he takes his eye. Yeah,
Mickey Rourke's great. It's not his fault that they overuse him because he even like in the first one I was like, oh, this is awesome. You know, Mickey Rourke's here. He's gonna bash the faces, and then like he comes back. It's like, oh, Mickey Rourke here again. He's gonna bash some more faces.
yeah.
I was like, what are we doing? What
But
are we
the thing
doing?
is, it's an actual prequel before he dies, so it doesn't
Yeah,
undercut it. But
yeah,
the audience doesn't know it. And again, we're in the same problem that happened in 300. You're
yeah.
trying to do a sequel, prequel, and side story
You're absolutely right because the first one's the side story, the second one's the prequel, and the third one's the sequel. Yeah,
in the same year, Coke.
yeah. Isn't that great? That's weird, and it's different directors.
But same writers. His Miller is showing.
Miller is showing.
Anything else you want to say about A Dame to Kill For? Which I still
No,
recommend. I think it's one of the best trailers, especially coming off of Sin City. It was one of my favorite trailers in 2014 or 2013 when we first got it.
yep.
Because the sample that they use is Glitch Mob, and they figured out how to like cut between how many different characters and like I don't know what the story is yet, so everything looks cool. Then after you see the movie, you're like, oh no, like the trailer completely let me down. So like that's the highest you can go for me with this movie. But there's a lot to like. There's still a charm,
and it's the most conflicting one of the four movies we've talked about so far because the Dame to Kill For part I legitimately liked.
Yes.
Aside from the facelift thing, like it's which I know has to happen. It's just the way they did it looked funny, but I genuinely enjoyed that story. It's just things around it didn't really work for me.
It's weird that even in a story that we like, they could only get 2/3 of it correct, and then they can stick the landing on their own shit. Yeah. It's like, oh, you guys didn't care. Okay, so the back half of
2014. Yeah, let's hear
comic book movies that dropped the same year. This is Murderer's Row, Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise and Emily.
Oh
Blunt.
yeah. That was a cool one.
Or also Live Die Repeat, depending on where you buy that movie.
Yeah, that was actually a cool one.
Snowpiercer, Chris Evans.
Oh yeah, you love that movie. Yeah,
That
I
movie's
watched it.
fucking
Yeah.
great. And I think it's more of a graphic novel than it is anything else.
Yes.
Guardians of the Galaxy #1.
Hey.
Captain America Winter Soldier.
Oh my goat.
X-Men Days of Future Past.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Probably the
Yeah.
best one, if not
I was just gonna say
one of two.
the better of that saga, I guess.
And then Dame to Kill For. So Dame to Kill For is not winning that category. But like we're almost, if not, we're at the bubble of this may be the best that we're gonna get for comic book movies in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
With the amount
Yeah.
of different ways that they went.
Well, Winter Soldier, I still think is like the best Marvel movie,
Guardians of the Galaxy
and
is
is up there.
underrated and
Yeah.
doesn't get enough love for what that entire franchise did. Probably the best trilogy that studio had put out.
Mm-hmm. Guardians of the Galaxy is tough because everybody's tried to copy that afterwards, which is not
Yeah,
their fault. That's how influential that movie was, though. It came out ragtag group, and
you knock Guardians because of that. Like you
no, no,
lower its
no. I'm
oh,
just
okay,
no.
okay.
It just reminded me. No, it's amazing. Right? The first Guardians is awesome. It's so awesome that they tried to copy that with every other movie afterwards, and it just didn't hit.
And then Days of Future Past, which everybody wanted to hate online before it dropped, and everyone shut the fuck up when it came out.
Yeah, it actually worked. It actually kind of worked. Yeah.
They ended up with the better Quicksilver, and nobody could have predicted that. That's that one scene where he's slowly
Yeah.
running around the, I guess, White House kitchen
Yeah.
and just fucking up shit. 2014 was a year, just wasn't for sequels, I guess, right? Because Rise of the
No
Empire and Dame to Kill For missed the mark.
mess.
We move on to 2006 classic. I don't know,
I think so.
cult favorite.
Yeah.
Directed by Zack Snyder, written by Zack Snyder, Kurt Johnston, Michael B. Gordon. We are talking about 300.
I'm hard on Zack Snyder in a lot of our episodes, but this is one of his better ones for sure. I remember seeing it for the first time in the theaters, and I was like, testosterone. I want to fight after this movie.
Yeah. And then I was going to say Frank Miller and Lynn Varley, they give credits to for the graphic novel. And in Sin City fashion, it's almost a shot for shot pull from the book to the screen. And that's the smartest thing the director could have done.
Yeah.
For how it looks. This is the beginning of the Snyder effect. And he's probably doing his best work here, at least in the first 30 minutes. After the fact, then like that's a whole different. We'll get to that when we start talking about that. Before we knew what Snyder turned into, this was like really like, oh shit, like you can do something that I haven't seen before, and I don't know where not to look, even though you're slowing it down because you've managed to jam the screen with so much shit going on. It's just a lot of times that's a lot of cod pieces or abs,
Yeah.
and that's not my first thing to look at, but there's a story here, and that helps save the entire movie.
When we're in the comics, they're naked.
Yeah.
They don't even have loincloths. They just have capes.
So
helmets,
like,
right? So like I remember like the scenes where they're talking to the emissary, their cocks are flopping around, right? And it's like, oh, okay. And this one they have the loincloth. So it's actually a little less homoerotic than the comic book.
yes, but it's more homoerotic than the sequel.
Yes.
And it's still super homoerotic.
Yes.
I have several notes about how they talk about turning backs and stolen glances between each other. Inside jokes that they're giggling when they're getting arrows thrown down at them.
Yep.
Shared fruit. There's a lot of subtext, symbolism, things that if you are
shared fruit.
First of all, where was he hiding that apple?
He's just eating it.
Second of all, he's like, I gotta go talk to Xerxes. Here, eat this. And dude's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And doesn't eat from the unbitten side, he eats from the shared bitten side, right? So if I was putting on my university hat and I was a professor, I'd be like, okay, let's look into this scene, right? Like, what's he really trying to say here?
Examine this a little further.
Let's get into the cast before we tear it to shreds, because there's things to love and there's things to hate, but it's definitely original. And I can't not knock the fact that if we didn't get an original Sin City, this may have been the best pairing for Frank Miller and probably would have made more movies with Snyder. Friend of the show and still our cast pick for Grey Gargoyle. If you guys ever decide to stop being cowards and make a Grey Gargoyle movie,
thank you.
Jared Butler playing King Leonidas. The lovely, lovely Lena Headey playing Queen Gorgo. Dominic West playing Throne.
the people. Sorry, just stop. Like when you watch this back, you see the people that you know now. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
there were some stars in here, hidden, tucked away in here.
David Willem playing Dilios, so he gets to play in both, as well as Lena Headley. Vincent Reagan playing Captain. Michael Fassbender in one of his first roles as Stelios. Tom Wisdom as Astonos. Andrew Plevin returns as Daxios. Andrew Turnian returns as Aphilis. Rodrigo Santoro returns as Xerxes. Again, the massaging of Xerxes and King Leonidas, because he turns his back to him and just lets him rub his shoulders.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah,
I'm not saying it is a thing. I'm just saying it's a thing. And Stephen Mahady as the loyalist. It is a solid cast until you realize if you were an extra for this movie, they probably told you that like you had to be in top level physique and then didn't know that you're just gonna be in a diaper for
the
the
whole
majority
time.
of the filming.
Yeah,
Um, for me, there's a difference between the first 30 minutes of this movie and everything else because everything that we get to do in Greece is actually really interesting and looks good. Because
yeah,
he's still playing around with sets. People are still like walking on things like
yeah,
columns and stuff. But there are moments where like Leonidas is fighting his son in the pit, and then you see Gorgo in silhouette watching. And the way that he's using light and shadow is really
really cool.
masterful
Yes,
for a storyteller and for a comic because I've seen this panel in a comic book. So like
I
keep
know
doing
exactly
that.
what you're talking about too, with the wrestling like in the sand.
Yes.
Yeah,
And then the intro, the whole narration of what it means to be a Spartan warrior. Like it's a kid going out with a spear fighting a wolf. Like
yeah,
all of that stuff was really good. Like that drew me in. So I can see a lot of people being like, this is my movie. After they kind of march off into the unknown to go find Xerxes, the movie changes for me and it kind of gets flat now. But I remember back then I was like, okay, this is still interesting, it's still cool.
yep,
But like certain things hit now more than they
yeah.
did when I was a kid or
It was
like
like
when I
20 years, like 20 years ago, by the way, almost. So
the fact that there's really only like two women in this movie and like 315 guys. I wrote the dancing naked girl is definitely your Miller showing because I
yeah,
don't think that was needed.
no,
Um, but like the stuff between Leonidas and Gorgon before he goes away and like the I read it as like his anxiety and like he couldn't perform right like so he's like sleepless and then like she puts him at ease and then they can perform and they have that little love scene and stuff like all of that is close, intimate, and filmed in a specific way. Like it wasn't gratuitous, even though there's not nudity happening in it. But it still seemed like Snyder was trying to like filmmake.
yeah,
It's as soon as like we gotta go to war, guys. Then like your Michael Bay is showing because then it
yeah.
just gets sensationalized.
And I think that's what kind of went through his head too. Is like if you think about 300, everybody talks about the action was so crazy. The action was so crazy. I'm assuming that Snyder, when he gets that kind of feedback, is like, okay, well then that first 45 minutes or whatever, I don't really need that. I could just lean on this stuff,
Right.
and that's what people want. And in some ways, sure, that's what people were talking about, but that's not all that we wanted. Because you're right, it goes on and on and on.
Here's my favorite question to you: was the politics storyline more interesting than the actual war?
Yes.
So I asked the right guy.
The most interesting thing about the war, and this is a boring answer, wasn't so much the fighting, it was more like their strategies. Let's,
Yes.
there's the bottleneck here, we're gonna meet them here. Okay, boom. Hunchback wants to join. Oh, he can't join. So I'm gonna tell you about this back way in. I wish there was more of that.
Yep.
Plus the politicking back in Greece where she's trying to hold the fort and they're trying to get people to join. Then you got the oracles who are like taking money from
Yeah.
the Persians to tell them what to do, and Leonidas is still like, "Nah, fuck you guys. I'm gonna do it anyways."
Yeah.
Like that's that whole thing, all moving pieces, way more interesting than let's just take on waves of different guys, right?
Kick him off a platform, bring him to
Yeah,
the sea.
yeah.
And then at a certain point, it just turns into a whole bunch of white people killing immigrants too. So I didn't really enjoy that this round.
They took our jobs.
The Sky of Arrows was like a nice shot,
That was cool, yeah.
but then again, that's where I saw some like it's like two guys making little jokes between each other, like the sky is at night. I was like, all right, so you guys are in love. That's fine. I have no problem with the love story they're trying to tell, but tell it because I actually think this movie would be more interesting if they turned up the homoeroticism. Homoeroticism.
Eroticism.
I'm keeping all of it in there. Yeah, but I want my homo to have eroticism.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah, no, you want to
Because
drag out that homo, yeah.
drag them all. because we have pride and we love them. That's more interesting because then they're not just faceless characters, which kind of happens. Like Leonidas is himself, and then his number two is kind of because he has his son, and then he has his whole like arc with like his son and what happens with his son. But everyone else is kind of just like, yeah, I'm a guy that fights in the war. Cool.
Yep. And back in those times too, there was rampant like bisexuality and homosexuality
Sure.
too. Like Alexander the Great is known. I'm sure it's not the same eras, but he was known to like just be the Freddie Mercury of like
Crushing ass.
yeah of like war. He's banging all his soldiers. He's banging like so he was all over the place. It was they could have leaned into that more. It is what it is. 2006. I don't know if the world was different then. 20 years ago, maybe they didn't want to go that route. Whereas today, it'd probably be applauded, right? I don't know.
Today, it would probably be straight for HBO Max, and then they wouldn't do the loincloth. Like, they'd actually be like, we
Just
got full
dicks out.
frontal. Yeah. And be like,
Yeah.
yeah. Can we talk about the elephant in the room? As much as I love friend of the show, Leonidas is a king of Greece
He didn't sound Greek. Yeah.
and doesn't yell Greek. And anybody to hear the way that he sounds would be like, you're not from Greece.
Yeah. Yes, I am. Could you that was his answer?
I am Sparta.
That Tom
was a good
Cruise in
part.
South Park. Tom, come out of the closet. I'm not in here though.
Come out, Tom. Do you think that there's a better casting, or is he so perfect for the role that you kind of overlook it?
I overlook it, especially at the time. But in a lot of cases, it's probably is there better casting? Yes. Do I know? No, that casting's kind of your job. So like you're good
I can
at it.
remember more names, but this is not something I want to take from Gerald Butler because this helped put him
This
to another level.
this was his platform, right?
And he did a good job. I mean,
Yeah.
you worked out for it. Like, this was not an easy shoot for anybody that was involved.
No, and he looked like he was there. Like when you compare the two leads from 300 and then 300 Rise of an Empire, it's night and day.
Yeah.
Like Jerry's got all the charisma. He commands the scenes. Every time he's in a scene, it's like eyes on him, right? Because just the way he's handles himself.
I like that they had to use B-roll in the sequel to include him, even though
Yeah.
they kept talking about him off screen. Like, that's how magnetic that character and that actor is.
Yeah.
They're like, is this just a propaganda film for Greek and Greece culture? Can't stop, won't stop?
Maybe.
It's an open-ended question. For me, it was really good at the time. I don't think it ages well, but I like how close to the comic it is. It's
Mhm.
just 300 was never my favorite comic.
Right.
So-
And I agree. It's not my favorite. This movie I saw before the comic. I loved the movie the first time I watched it, but I think that was just because
It was so new. It was so
it
Snyder.
was so new. It was different. Right? It was the first
Yeah.
Zack Snyder movie I ever seen. The action was crazy. The visuals were visceral, and then like he plays himself out so fast that it's like, oh, it's this again. Not in the movie, but like in his following.
IMDb, yeah, his filmography.
Thank you. So it was just kind of like lightning in a bottle type thing, and he was a good choice for this adaptation at the time.
Here's the thing. This might be the best comic book movie of 2006. Do you want to hear the other comic book movies of 2006?
Yeah,
My Super Ex-Girlfriend with Uma Thurman and Luke Wilson. Zoom with Tim Allen. So family friendly.
Zoom.
Yeah. Check out Sky High and Zoom. They're both family
All right.
comic book movies. X-Men The Last Stand.
Ooh. Oh, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
And Superman Returns with Routh and Kevin Spacey.
Oh, the one with Kevin Spacey. Ooh. I saw that in a drive-in theater. I fell asleep.
Talk about no action. That movie's all like, let me contemplate life.
Yeah. That was right.
From
Who directed
different
that?
angles.
Anybody
Singer?
notable?
Yeah, Singer.
Oh, Brian Singer. Okay.
The touchy one.
Yeah. That's why I was like, not that one.
Let's move on.
It's funny that he put Kevin there. Okay.
See, if we cover that movie, that's definitely an aspect that we'll talk about.
Things start to link together.
Grossly. So I made you include this because it's hard not to. I don't want to talk about the movie,
Right.
but the scene is definitely ripped from the pages, and I thought it was worth it to talk about the scene. I'm talking about Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice, directed by Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
But we're only talking about the face-off scene between Deezed out Super Steel Batman and Superman that happens in the third act, which is like a 9-minute to 10-minute scene.
Yeah, it's not long. In the source material for this fight, that's what it's based on. Superman was a patsy for the U.S. government and was being sent into Gotham to neutralize Batman. They have a ton of history together. They were in the Justice League. It's fallen apart. Yada yada yada. Right?
Mhm.
Like there's a built up. Oliver Queen's involved.
Right.
In this version, they've never really met before.
Nope.
And Lex is holding Martha Kent. Did you watch like the first 5-10 minutes before the fight?
No, but I remember the movie. I saw the movie in theaters and it hurt my soul.
Yeah, so Lex is holding Superman's mother captive,
Mhm.
and if he doesn't kill Batman, he's going to kill his mom. Those are the difference. They don't know each other.
No, not at all. Directed by Zack Snyder, and again, I'm only going to give credit to the characters that we watch. Ben Affleck as Batman, who wasn't bad, but
No.
probably middle tiered if we do the ranking,
Yeah.
and Henry Cavill as Superman, who to this point is still my favorite Superman.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't think he got the Christopher Reeves type of movies that he deserved.
No, he didn't. He didn't get any movie he deserved,
That's fair.
which is a shame. But he was trying his hardest because he is a good Superman. I mean, he looks great. He wants to be Superman too. He's a nerd.
Yep.
He's one of us.
He's British.
That's the only thing. That's his one knock, right? I'm just kidding. The difference between the original comic book, the animated adaptation, and then this one is those first two have emotional weight to them.
And it makes sense that they're finally going to blow up at each other.
Right. It's a build up. This has no emotional weight. They don't know each other. There's nothing really going on. Like, remember in the movies, like Batman's got the heart condition too?
Yeah.
So he's got nothing to lose and he's ready to go. And this, he's just arrogant.
Yeah, and he's not that much aged out of the position, right? They're closer to
No.
age in the movie than in the comic book.
He's just a dick in this. And because he's got nothing in his ears too, there's tons of chances for Superman to be like, listen, man, I'm not going to fight you. But no, instead he's just kind of like, you shouldn't have done that. It's like, well, dude, you're Superman. You can whip around behind him. This guy doesn't seem that prepared, to be honest with you. Like, he's a little prepared because he does the sound wave.
But then he has no idea because he's like, oh no, he's stronger than everything I ever planned for.
And then he gets scared. They show him where like Batman's like, oh no. It's like, okay.
That was a down point. I was like, Batman wouldn't do that. Even if he was, he wouldn't show it.
And Superman wouldn't fight so fast.
Correct. So my third point is, I kind of like how Batman is like the little brother and he keeps antagonizing the older brother to like, do it. And then finally he does it and he's like, oh no, like I didn't sign up for this. It's just based on the character arcs of how I've read both of those characters throughout the years, they would probably be reversed. Batman would be the older brother who had to get antagonized into fighting Superman. So it's weird, but that's probably the best thing about Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice is that 9 minutes where they're kind of just feeling each other out and the effects aren't overweighting the movie. You're not getting too much of the Snyder effect, but you're getting some funny sort of like trade-offs between Affleck and Cavill.
I do want to say his suit looked cool. The metal suit did on Batman translated from where it came from because he has that in the comics and the cartoon as well. It looked really good in live action. I was like, that looks pretty cool. I don't know why they changed his voice, but his voice is all like reverbed. I was like, I don't.
Bale just kind of broke the mold for that one.
Yeah, they gave him some like robotic voice. It's like I don't think he needed that. Like his mouth isn't even covered. He's fine.
It's so easy for like his face to reveal, like a little tap, and like this whole plate comes off. He's like, "Oh crap, Bruce Wayne!" Like
you think he'd wear his Batman cowl? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
We can tear it apart when we ever get to do Dawn of Justice. I will say I find it hilarious that they couldn't even stick the landing on their own fight. The whole fight ends with Martha, and I remember you loving that joke when it first came out because you would send me messages where you're like, Martha.
It's still making me laugh, man, because I forgot how it was delivered, and it's actually like that made me laugh again because I didn't. You're letting him kill Martha. It's like,
how do you know that name? It's like, what?
How do you know that name?
And from a detective not to ask a follow-up question of like Martha last name, which Martha? Like
so stupid.
That's the emotional connection that they're trying to pull from the comic that they didn't really set up in the movie.
It's so dumb. First of all, the Superman doesn't talk the whole fight. He could have just been like, "Listen, man, hey, stop fighting for a second. Just can you just grab his fist, and be like, listen, man, chill. We got to team up here because he's got my mom hostage.
Yep.
Can you help me out here? And I'll do whatever. I'll leave. No, I'm gonna start just shooting you with bullets. I have a gun."
I love that he had set up Gatling guns just to be like, as soon as he walks here, bah, 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 it does nothing. It's like, what are you doing? Like, why?
So no, and also just to be a critical nerd too. I don't like the way Batman was fighting him either because he was just kind of like going crazy. I
Yeah.
feel like Batman would be more precise and more
Mhm.
surgical. Like, okay, I'm gonna target this. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna go hard on his shoulder with whatever, stab everything, and then just like kind of like disable his. You know what I mean? That's kind of more Batman style. Like, I'm gonna
That
go
are
with
like traps and like cat and mouses. Like,
yes.
let me lure him through this
He
Home
had
Alone building that I've set up for him, and
yeah,
like something's
no,
going to kill him
he had
sooner or
one
later.
trap
Yeah.
and worked for like 3 seconds, and then he had the gun with kryptonite in it.
He had a sink. He used a
The,
sink.
the sink, yeah, he bashed the side of that sink. That was the
That
best
was
part.
good. So like that was
Then he like throws him down like 3 stories or 4 stories, and then starts whipping him around in a chain. I was like, "What are you doing here?" Because he has to shoot him twice with this kryptonite, right?
Yep.
So you know from the first shot of kryptonite, it's not going to last long. So you're wasting your time. If you're really trying to kill him, just shoot him in the like
Get a gun, shoot.
shoot him in the. But then it's like Batman doesn't kill anyway. So what are you trying to prove here? Like it's
You forget that Dawn of Justice broke a lot of rules because Batman had machine guns and was killing a lot of people. In like, if we ever review this movie, we will laugh because
yeah.
so many things don't add up. It's a long movie, and Snyder is definitely showing, so I wouldn't put that on anybody.
I like how he gets mad at the fans too. He's like, "My Batman kills." Well, it's not really Batman, is he? Because it's the one
That's
rule
not a
he has.
detective. Yeah, detectives don't kill.
Literally, the you can write any Batman movie. His one rule is I don't kill.
I'm better than you, so I don't kill.
Yep.
His Miller was showing, or his Snyder was showing,
Snyder was showing with this. Miller was showing the Batsuit would have a swastika on it.
or there'd be a dame to walk by. There's
There'd
like
be
there's
days
goggles.
by. That's right.
There'd be more Wonder Woman in a. There'd be more
Nagging,
bended knee, mad, and then like super happy, and then
and they
super
have
horny.
sex.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did we just write the Batman versus Superman sequel? I think we did.
Miller version. Yep.
2016 on TV. Luke Cage season 1 had just launched on Netflix.
Okay.
I had to write that down because I think that was a big moment. X-Men Apocalypse.
Oof.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Suicide Squad, Jared Leto version.
Ooh.
Doctor Strange.
Huh?
Captain America Civil War.
Huh?
That movie's, you have to
I think
look
it's
at it a
actually
few
got a little
times.
better. It's got a little better with age.
They're doing a lot, and then they actually managed to accomplish a lot. But if you
Yeah.
didn't know anything going in, you're like, who's this guy? Who's this
Yeah.
guy?
Yeah.
There's a cat man? Who's this
Yeah.
robot? Who's this like, there's a lot. There's a lot. It's unfair to ask for someone walking in. And then the movie of the year, Deadpool.
Which is aged very well.
And kept Ryan Reynolds making dough. So
Because I watched it last year, and I was like, I miss the
still good.
simplicity of some of these stories. It was just kind of there's no multiverse thing. It was just a dude trying to get his girlfriend back.
And then a couple references and cameos for
Perfect.
fans to be like,
Yeah.
that's all I needed. I didn't need a lot.
Yeah.
It took us a while. Took us over an hour, but we got to the one Frank Miller movie that you can be proud of that it's a Frank Miller movie.
Yeah.
It happened in the early aughts of 2005. So I just got out of high school, a couple years in college, and I know I got hyped for this because I remember watching the trailer on the computer lab computers because someone sent it to me, and then I went to the library. I was like, "You guys got comic books?" They're like, "Yeah," and I found Sin City. I was like, "So my life has now changed." Directed by Robert Rodriguez, special guest director Quentin Tarantino, and listed Frank Miller. So that's a murderer's row of talent that I think are used in the best possible ways because if it's Robert Rodriguez's baby, he knows how to deal with all of these inflated egos.
Mm-hmm.
Writers are listed as Frank Miller based on the graphic novels, and Robert Rodriguez and Frank Miller are both listed as a screenwriter. So you get to take what Frank wrote and as Robert as the visionary and sort of the understanding of how to narrate a story and weave what we're trying to do, can now figure out how to make a working screenplay that I've already filmed. And again, like you said at the beginning of the show, this guy was kind of apprehensive of me doing this at all, but I wanted to show him that I had this really kind of cool trick I've been working on, and this is my theme and vision for what this movie can be.
Customer's always right.
Customer's always right. And that had
Josh Hartnett
and Marley Shelton, who's also great, playing the customer. This also had maybe one of the best assembled groups of talent.
Oh, easy.
In a long time.
Yeah.
And they're all working to their strengths based on the story that Frank Miller has already written and the strength of what Robert Rodriguez as a director knows what he wants to do. Let's get into casting. The lovely, lovely Jessica Alba as Nancy.
Lovely, lovely,
Lovely, lovely Devon Aoki as Miho. So that's original from
lovely,
Too Fast, Too Furious. Lovely, lovely Alexis Bledel as Becky.
lovely.
Powers Booth as Senator Rourke.
Not lovely.
Jude Cicerella as Leibowitz. Lovely, lovely Rosario Dawson as Gail.
Lovely, lovely.
Benicio del Toro as Jackie Boy.
My MVP.
Jason Douglas as Hitman. Rest in peace, Michael Clark Duncan as Minute. Tommy Flanagan as Brian. Rick Gomez as Clump. Lovely, lovely, lovely Carla Gugino as Lucille.
Oh, lovely, lovely.
Rutger Hauer as Cardinal Rourke from Blade Runner. R.I.P. Nikki Cat as Stuka. Lovely, lovely Jamie King as Goldie and Wendy.
Lovely.
Michael Madsen as Bob. Frank Miller as Priest. Clark Middleton as Schultz. Lovely, lovely, rest in peace, Brittany Murphy as Shelby.
Lovely, lovely, rest in peace.
Nick Offerman as Schlub. Clive Owen as Dwight. Mickey Rourke as Marv. Nick Stahl as Rourke Jr., the Little Bastard. Oh,
no, you didn't.
Bruce Willis as Hardigan. Elijah Wood as Kelvin. Good Lord. I think I've reached the end.
I think so.
Again, I kept thinking I was done, and there were still another 4 names of Hollywood elite.
And how many of these people launched or became next tier from this movie? Because someone's already established. Like Bruce Willis obviously is more already established. Mickey Rourke already established. This changed for Jessica Alba, didn't it?
Yes. Clive Owen, push up, right? Like Benicio del Toro has already been consistent. I think Rosario Dawson has always been consistent. For Mickey Rourke, this was his resurgence. So he was outsider, and everyone's like, no, he can still go.
Was this before or after The Wrestler? Because that's a hell of a 1-2 punch.
It might be 2004. I gotta look it up now.
If you did Wrestler and Sin City back to back, that's a whoo boy.
2008. So this is this gets him on the map, and then Aronofsky sees him like, come with me, and then makes The Wrestler, and The Wrestlers. Carla Gugino, another push, right?
Yep.
Howard we hadn't seen in a long time. Elijah Wood we hadn't seen in a long time. Hartnett we hadn't seen in a long time. Jamie King hadn't seen in a long time. So yeah, no, you have credit to like bringing a lot of faces, a lot of people in, just for specific scenes, but are so pitch perfect to the story that Frank Miller had told. That man, I don't have really a bad thing to say about this movie.
You do. And if you have the graphic novel in front of you, and you're reading along, I don't know if there's many differences except for maybe Nancy not being topless most of the time, because that was like her in the book. She's topless a lot.
I have one negative feedback. That's not even a big thing. That's just.
But that's the big difference between the book and because you can take frames and they're exact shots. Even the way characters are positioned. I think it was when Hardigan was in. They had him locked up, and they had Nancy in front of him.
Yep.
And the guards.
Oh, he's in the cage. That everything with Hardigan, I really remember because I love what they do with Yellow Bastard. But when he's leaving prison and they have it's backlit white and he's walking into the snow and like you see the cage of the door, just the perspective of it, it's beautiful. All these shots are beautiful. Anytime it snows, it's beautiful. I was making fun of this spirit because they're going to handle swimming. When Marv is swimming and you see the behind the scenes of the wire work of what he is doing and what Rodriguez knew how to do for this type of story. Amazing, right? The toilet scene with Jackie Boy, I love that. And that's shot for shot, right? Like the head gun, the explosion when they go into the tar pits and like him falling down into it. This broke my brain in theaters. I didn't think you could make movies like this, let alone comic books like this, let alone as successful as it was. And the real sort of mind break, because this had a great trailer too. And like the song is The Servant Sells. And that song's so moody for what they're trying to do. But the actual movie didn't really have a soundtrack.
You're right. No, you're right. Yeah.
There's not a lot of music. It's just sound effects and like grumble voices of like whoever is narrating that story.
Yeah.
And they all hang their hat on like just being strong, sort of different levels of alpha male types. We didn't get to say how 300 built the whole red pill sort of aggro alpha boy that has now come onto like the landscape of like YouTube and everything. But Sin City kind of reminds you of like what you remember men to be like. They're not overly chauvinist, even though there's some levels of that. They're not overly Cro-Magnon, even though there's some levels of that.
Yeah.
They're chauvinists, but like it's charming. They're bravado, but it's to like help somebody out. Like they're heroes, but they're idiots because of that. They're super brave, but it ends up blowing up in their face. They're all kind of bound by the woman that they love, and that ends up like pussy gets them all killed.
They're all fuckers for love. Yeah, they're exactly it. Pussy gets them all.
This entire run, every movie, someone's dying because of pussy, but you keep cheering on these guys because you want them to get out of these fantastical scenarios that they found themselves in that could only happen in this world. And I love the fact, the way that Rourke hits the one line of
walk down the right back alley in Sin City and you can find anything.
I butchered the line. I wish I wrote it down. I didn't. Like, he sets the tone for how good this movie is.
Yeah.
And it's so good. Like him breaking out of the hotel room and then killing all the cops and like running down the street. I can't tell you how, what am I, like 19? A 19-year-old, 20-year-old who like has a foundation in like comic books, likes cartoons and stuff like that, but comic book movies hadn't really hit this level yet. Like we had X-Men and Spider-Mans and they were serviceable and then let you believe like, okay, cool, like something's coming. This was a graphic novel movie, right? Before they really started doing graphic novel movies. And it just floored me. Like, I already liked Robert Rodriguez, right? And I already knew Frank Miller, but not to this level. Like, this for me was just like, and I saw this movie like 3 times in the theaters. Like, I can't get enough of it.
And they made a movie that looked like a graphic novel.
Yeah.
And not only that, but it was really fucking good too. That's the crazy thing about it, is like it had style and substance, and it was unique, and it was like the first of its kind, and it set trends. And it launched all these characters. Like, there's every character in here has some sort of like scene stealing moment. Like, it's like they're all awesome. Everybody looks great. Side characters are funny. Even the 2, I can't remember their names, the 2 that are always talking in big words and they're coming to pick up Hardigan.
Yeah, one is Nicky Cat, and who gets the arrow through his chest, which is a weird premonition when he ends up dead, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it was crazy. Like you were saying, the cast too. This is impossible for you and I, because I've had time to think about this. But for me, like my MVP of the movie was Benicio del Toro, just because he takes that role. Because they're reading from the graphic novel, right? Like they have the exact script there, but he takes that character's voice and kind of makes it his own. Like, you know, when he's dying in the car, he's like, "I'm gonna get you," and then like I was like, "Oh, I love that. I love the way he talks in this movie." If you ever had an MVP, you could think about it, but that would be mine if I was ever posed that impossible question.
That's the scene that Quentin Tarantino directs, is when Owen and Del Toro are in the car driving away from the cops. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense though, because they're talking so much. But at the same time, the funny thing about that, or the ironic thing, that's probably like my least favorite story out of the 3.
Yeah, I feel you.
But I love that character. He's so, because nobody in this is clean. They're all got dirt on them. They're all dark. They're all twisted. Even Marv, who's got this like heart of gold, he's
a monster.
He's a monster, exactly.
He literally belongs in 300. Like, there's a reference to the fact that like he would be a god. Women be throwing themselves at him because his power set, what he is, doesn't work to the world that he lives in.
Like, why are you doing this for some whore? Because she was nice to me.
Yeah.
It's like, I love how simple that is, but how complex that is at the same time.
So, like, again, Miller's firing at a highest level of his cylinders because he wrote this amazing story about this world, or several stories. Yeah. And Rodriguez was smart enough to cherry pick kind of the best ones to use, because imagine trying to include a Dame to Kill for in this one. You'd already have to set up this weird, I got to change my face and I don't know what I'm going to do now.
Although, even though it's a prequel to A Big Fat Kill, it's like, I don't know if it would have fit as nice in this one. Do you prefer Clive Owen or Josh Brolin as this role?
Okay, so I can answer 3 of your questions now off the same character, but I will give a shout out to Schlub, who is Nick Offerman's character, who's one of the dudes that has to pick him up. And Nicky Cat plays...
I can't believe Nick Offerman's in this. I didn't even realize it was him.
Stuka. Clive Owen is my MVP.
Ah, there it is. So they answered the question right away.
Clive Owen is who I prefer of Brolin, and Brolin is great.
Yep.
I wish those were 2 different characters.
Yeah.
Like, then I could love Brolin on his own. I love Clive so much in this movie, and again, to your credit, The Big Fat Kill is maybe my second favorite story. But I love how much stuff he gets to do. Like, he gets to chew the scenery, and he gets to be the full Miller, because he leaves one girl after flirting with this other girl to go find this next girl, to go make out with this other girl, to go save another girl, kind of thing, right? So he gets to bounce between all these different worlds, and he he really is just kind of a con man in Converse.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. His shoes are always yeah.
But he's the coolest version of it because no other guy is going to do this for anybody else. Like he ends up having to save the day, and he's such the outsider who no one would expect to save the day. You would expect a Hardigan to because he's a man about the badge. You would expect Marv to because he's the brute who, what else are you going to do? You're either the villain or the hero with that size. Clive could have just stayed in the bar the whole time and flirted with Shelly, but he's like, nah, I'm going to follow this guy to Old Town. And then he just bites off more than he can chew, and then he just chews it all. So, like, how do you not cheer for that shit, right? Like, that's good writing. And Clive kind of raises that for me.
Yeah, all the stories are great. It's just like there's none I don't like. I think that was probably my least favorite. I'm not even sure why. I really liked The Hard Goodbye, which is the Marv one. Right. Love that one just because it's straightforward. I like how he peels back layers and gets deeper and deeper, and then it's like
opens and closes on a dream, right? The dream of lying with Goldie.
Yeah,
and then he takes down the church. Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah,
that's my favorite one.
And then That Yellow Bastard is
so good.
Yeah, it's a revenge flick. I love that shit too. And then Big Fat Kid, they're all good. And it's interesting how they chose because book-wise, Volume 1's The Hard Goodbye.
Yeah.
Volume 2 is Dame to Kill For. Volume 3 is The Big Fat Kill. Volume 4 is That Yellow Bastard. And then Volume 5 is Family Values. Remember that one where it's Dwight and Neil?
Yeah, they go off.
That's not that great.
It's a side mission.
Then Volume 6 is the mini stories, the short stories. And then Book 7 is Hell and Back, which is, I don't know if it's my favorite of the books, but it's up there. When they were making this movie, they got to choose from all those books. The short stories are easy. You can kind of push those to the side. But out of the other 6 books, he chose 1, 3, and 4. Like, I don't know how you do that.
But you can see how easy this entire project could have fallen apart in the wrong hands.
Yep.
So much credit has to go to Robert Rodriguez in this because he had an idea specifically wanted to do, and he needed to sell the old man on it before he could even make one move. And he did that. Because he even talks about how, like, he got a lot of these actors in because he let them know while we're getting a studio budget, we're not filming in a studio. We're filming my studio, which I think was someplace in Texas. But basically, like, he built kind of like a one-room sort of scenario where he could show them what the green screen kind of look would be and then kind of plot out everything else as like a stage play. So the actors got to play off each other and the material that was already there. So there's enough foundation there that as an actor, you know who this character is. And if you don't, you can go talk to Miller. And then if you don't understand your surroundings, you're talking to Rodrigo, who's like, this is what we're building. We're literally taking this page from this scene and you're going to recreate this in this way. You're just going to give it this type of light and this type of energy and this type of movement. And then I thought something that was so great too was there's background filming of this movie and everyone's obviously in normal clothes, right? They're not wearing black and white, but they're wearing certain clothing that's fluorescent. Hardigan's wearing a blue shirt and blue pants and like a trench coat, but his tie is bright orange. And
it stands out.
For when you go into the editing, you want the reflexive, like you want to know what's going to stand out. So the team that was around Rodriguez had to be mindful of all these little things of like, okay, cool. Like if we want it to look like the comic book, they should probably be wearing these things. So when we get into post-production, we know how to flip those type of colors. I thought it was so smart. Like for me, this is T-Pain using auto-tune, who's like, let me play around with it before like everyone gets it and they just start turning. Because you see when everyone started using auto-tune.
It gets ruined.
And sometimes it's good and sometimes a lot of times it's bad, but there's more of it out there. Whereas someone that took the time of like, nobody knows what this is yet. So like we get to play with it the most and we get to have the most fun with it is Robert Rodriguez in Sin City with this type of look. Because then music videos started to look like this. Yeah. Then TV shows started to look like this. Then other movies tried to look like this. Then Frank Miller tried to make movies like this. But it doesn't have the same soul.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the same gear. It doesn't have the same heart. And again, we did the list for 2005. This is the best movie of 2005 comic book. Hands down.
Is this the best comic book adaptation ever?
I think that's a question for another...
Nobody cares.
This clown's out of control. I followed him here to make sure he didn't hurt any of the girls.
Us helpless little girls.
It's time to prove to your friends that you're worth a damn. Sometimes that means dying. Sometimes it means killing a whole lot of people.